Madam President, item number 6 on the calendar, Senate Bill 173, a bill to provide statewide uniformity in requirements for employers to provide leave to their employees. Senator Warren is offering a substitute S-1. The Warren substitute is amendment number 1, and it is available on the chamber automation system.
Senator Warren, to your substitute.
Thank you, Madam President. The substitute that I have before you would protect the public health of Michigan employees by requiring employers in this state to provide them with paid sick leave. And furthermore, it would prohibit retaliation against any employee who needed to use this benefit. Paid sick leave policies are good public policy and, in fact, good for business. By adopting my substitute, we will be extending an employee benefit that has been proven to increase worker performance and morale, reduce turnover, and limit healthcare costs for employers and the state by reducing workplace contagion, accidents, and significantly limiting the spread of disease. This benefit is in fact good for business, good for our economy, and good for our constituents. I ask you to join me in supporting this substitute. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Warren. Senator Jansen.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, I appreciate the previous speaker. I think this amendment substitute actually subverts the intent of my bill, and I want to keep this whole concept of this benefit between the employer and the employee. This does the opposite, so I would ask my colleagues to vote against this substitute. Thank you.
Question is on the Warren substitute to Senate Bill 173. All those in favor of the substitute will vote aye. Those opposed will vote nay. Secretary will open the board. Secretary will close the board and announce the vote.
Madam President, on the Warren substitute, there are 5 aye votes and 9 no votes.
The yeas and nays have been requested. All those in favor of the yeas and nays will vote aye. Those opposed will vote nay. Secretary will open the board. Secretary will close the board and announce the vote.
Madam President, on the yeas and nays, there are 10 aye votes.
A sufficient number of people having voted for the yeas and nays, the yeas and nays are ordered. The question is on the Warren substitute to Senate Bill 173. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote nay. Secretary will open the board. Seeing all members present having voted, and without objection, the Secretary will close the board and announce the vote.
Madam President, on the Warren substitute by record roll call vote, there are 12 aye votes and 26 no votes.
An insufficient number of people having voted for the Warren substitute, the substitute is not adopted as Senate Bill 173.
Madam President, there are no further amendments pending to the final passage of Senate Bill 173.
Senator Young to final passage.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I come before you today with shame and with anger in my heart in the fact that we would take away sick leave from our workers. This is disgraceful. It's unnecessary. It's despicable. I mean, what do we say to the hardworking men and women of this state, to our janitors, to our waitresses, to our nurses, to our police officers, to our firefighters? What do we say to them by taking away paid leave? This is outrageous. This is the worst idea for a bill I have seen since they decided to make Garfield and the Tale of Two Kitties. This bill is so incredibly bad that I think it created a tear in the time-space continuum, and I blacked out, woke up in a hot tub time machine, and traveled through time so I could stop it and repeal it. This is my second time I've been up here. It's horrible. And the fact that we would do this to our workers is wrong. For the sake of decency, for the sake of paid leave, for the sake of our men and women of the workforce, vote this bill down. Thank you, Madam President. Like my words printed in the Journal.
Thank you, Senator Young. Your remarks will be printed in the Journal. Senator Jansen.
Thank you, Madam President. Today, I would ask support of Senate Bill 173 from my colleagues. This is going to provide statewide uniformity. That leave time offered beyond that of federal law is something to be established by private businesses for their employees and local governments for their employees. I was alarmed when I was told some local governments across the country have instituted a very anti-business requirement forcing employers to pay leave time benefits beyond what the federal government already dictates. I believe leave time benefits, paid or unpaid, is an agreement between an employer and an employee. And in committee, I gave the example of my son who just started a business. He's got 4 employees. He can barely pay his employees, and now my friends on the other side of the aisle want to force him now to pay even more than providing 4 jobs when he's barely got his business off the ground. I think oftentimes they don't want us in their business. I think this is a good place to say to them, it's time to stay out of our business owners' business also. Michigan is a friendlier climate for the businesses today than it was 2+ years ago. We've come a long way and made some tough decisions, preventing a hodgepodge of local mandates, willing to continue and provide a business-friendly climate. And I would ask that my colleagues vote for this today and that we continue on the path of providing jobs, growing jobs here in the state of Michigan for our children and our grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Jansen. Senator Warren.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to give my no vote explanation on Senate Bill 173. At its heart, Senate Bill 173 will override local control that allows our counties, townships, and cities to make decisions about the employees that work within their boundaries. What this bill would do is require them to prohibit them from adopting laws that would allow their employees to provide paid sick leave. At its heart, Senate Bill 173 is a solution in search of a problem. You heard the good senator from the 28th district say there are some communities, I think now 4 in total, around the country that have adopted paid sick leave policies. Not a single one of them is here in Michigan. So we're searching today to preempt communities from doing something that none of them have even done. And with all due respect to the good senator from the 28th district, I disagree that this kind of a policy is bad for business. Paid sick leave policies that have been adopted in those communities around the country have increased worker performance and worker morale. They have reduced turnover of their employees, and they have brought about a reduction in healthcare costs by reducing workplace contagion and accidents and significantly limiting the spread of disease in the workplace. Businesses support this. In one community, San Francisco, that has adopted such a law, has a mandatory sick leave program in place. 68% of businesses identify that they support the law, and 70% of businesses, after this policy went into effect, say they've reported no significant impact on profitability. Think about the fact that when we go in to have dinner in a restaurant or buy something in a store, if someone is sick and should be home taking care of that illness, but they can't make their ends meet without going in and doing that shift that day, we want them to be able to make the choice to be home, to take care of themselves, to come back when they're well, and not pass along some potentially contagious disease to all of us. We see this in the restaurant industry a lot. Folks make a very low wage. They require the tip benefit that we provide when we have good service to help them, keep food on their table and to pay for their kids' clothes and their electricity bills. That's the last place we want somebody who's sick to be serving us our food, to be spreading diseases in one of our restaurants. paid sick leave policies are good policies, and bringing before us a piece of legislation that would prevent our local communities from making this decision themselves flies in the face of local control, and it sends the message that we truly don't trust our local communities to make decisions about local public health, which is one of the things that we entrust in them right now. So I encourage my colleagues to vote no on this dangerous piece of legislation. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Warren. Senator Warren asked that her remarks be printed as her no vote explanation, along with Senator Johnson, Senator Anderson, Senator Hopgood, Senator Gregory, Senator Smith, Senator Casperson.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise in support of Senate Bill 173. The good senator from the 18th district left out a couple things that I think need to be mentioned. As we talk about local control, number one, I never hear any conversation about how this is all going to get paid for. That's why I think it is critical that they negotiate this between the employer-employee and get it worked out there. I don't see the local people jumping up and suggesting they'll pay for all this for somebody to go home on sick leave and still get paid. I don't see any of that. So maybe we ought to suggest maybe some of those things should be added in. She talked about, the good senator from the 18th district talked about local control. They seem to throw that out when it's convenient, but the one thing that's left out of this is how about private control? How about the private sector carving out their own course between the employer and employee? Why does the government have to make a decision like this and then force those costs and those burdens on top of the private sector as if it has no consequences? I rise in support of this, and I support local control, but I also support private control of their own destiny. Thank you, Madam President.